All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observation, and entertainment. I ask that you comment, like, share, and subscribe.
When they're stuck on something, they can call you and you might not know the answer, but the fact is that they even in their advanced ages, my godson will be 40 this year, and even at his advanced age, he still calls his dad and he's a lawyer. So it's it's one of those things that they're teaching you as much as you're teaching them, and you never realize that when you're a kid because your parents kept a lot of stuff from you because you didn't really need to know that. But as you got older, you kind of understand some of the things that they did, and you understand the methods behind the madness, and you'll find out because I had mine's were mine's my oldest is 31, my middle will be 30 in February, my youngest is 28. So you can imagine having like you, I was that dad. So I understand, and better you
And I
than
guess
me.
with you having boys, um, I guess like so I don't know. I guess just I've seen it a lot. I've seen it a lot with a lot of my guy friends is and even myself, I had physical altercation, like throw down, drag out fist fights with my dad. And
So did I. They can
yeah,
tell
I
you.
think I think it's the situations. It's like I hope that I never have to get there with my son Jackson.
And you probably
Is that
won't.
the reality? I don't know because again, like if he's even of the half the person that I was in temperament, will probably be going to blows. And then it's
And
just like, how do I also curb that? I guess like
well,
sports was a huge part of my life, and like I wanted to be his, but without forcing him because like I would my kids are tall. My daughter is in the 99th percentile for height and weight. My son at 1 years old is in the 99th percentile for height and weight. My daughter's projected to be 6 foot tall, and my son currently is on track to be almost 6'8". Um, like just with how they predict height at 1 years old with all their measurements and stuff. And it's just like, how do I taper those expectations of like, I was really good at sports. I'm not a little guy. I did martial arts, I wrestled, I played baseball, basketball. And I guess as a father, how do I help my
trust
kids?
trust me, I was you. And I was playing semi-pro ball in Germany and would take my oldest with
Yeah.
me. And he could barely walk, but he was with me. He was my accessory. However, as he got older, I had one rule because they kids like to change their mind. I said, if you commit to something, you will finish it. If you don't want to do it
Oh
anymore,
yeah.
I'm cool with that. But
That
you
was
will.
my dad's rule for me. That was if you start something, we ain't quitters. We have this, I guess it's a saying. It means a lot to us. It may not be, but so for my grandfather, he had 9 children. My dad is one of 9. Out of all of those children, there are only 3 grandchildren in our entire family that will keep my grandfather's last name. 4 now with my son, me, my brother, and my cousin Patrick. Patrick had 2 girls and he's not having no more kids. He can't have any more kids. Um, I have a son, and it's just like that lineage, I guess, means a lot to us. So like we say, you're a Yule boy, and for us that means like, you are your father's son, who is our grandfather. Like,
No,
how do I
I understand.
instill a pride of like you? I guess I want him. I want and this is more for my son. My daughter is. I have no clue. I'm a clueless dad when it comes to that. Because listen, her little pinky and me, it's just unfortunately how it is, even as a disciplinarian. I remember the first time I had to like punish my daughter, I had to go to the bedroom and I bawled. I cried. I didn't know what to do. It's my little girl. My son, though, I don't feel that. Like,
No, because
like
that's
if I gotta, I guess I don't know how to deal with I don't feel like I love my son, I love my daughter, but it's just the feelings that I have for my son. I'm like, I know how hard life is for men.
yeah.
Um, like I want him to, I guess, almost, I want him to be a beast, I guess is the proper way to put it. Be the monster, and then allow me to, I guess, show you how to tame that. Did you ever use that or like see that in
Well,
your sons when they were
well,
growing up?
yeah. What I did was um, I showed them how to resolve conflict without violence.
No.
And
uh,
um, the thing was that I was never an overly violent guy, but you push me, and I wasn't afraid to drop them dogs. Um, what I did with my children was I told them I told them to walk away from issues. If there's a problem and you don't feel you can handle, tell me, and I'll go with you, and we'll solve it. And I didn't make them fight. I didn't. I mean, they played sports until they didn't want to play sports anymore. But I was there with them. It wasn't like I wasn't. I wouldn't allow anybody else to raise my children.
oh
Not to
yeah,
say that,
agreed.
not to say that I wouldn't mind somebody looking after my children, but I didn't raise my children. I didn't want my children to be raised by somebody other than me when I have the ability and the capability of being that parent.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that.
so, with your daughter, you just have to show her what a man is supposed to be like. That's that's your
Yes.
that's your
Yep.
job. Your
Is
Yeah,
job,
very, very important.
your job
Very
and
as a
it's
important.
like,
father is to
Yep.
teach your daughter.
Hold on. Dabs want to say something regarding that.
I want to get on this one because speaking of and he was asking about how you treat your daughter and stuff, and I had two sons and a daughter. I was very
Hands-on.
kind of like, yeah, I was very hands on. For the last part of my two of my children's years, I was a single father. But at the beginning, I was there for them, like what you said, Ray. If they wanted to, you play sports, they played. Um, they played. And then I started coaching football before they were even old enough, so they would come out and hang out at the field and see me coaching, and then one of my older son got involved, then my other son got involved, and then my daughter liked it so much she ended up playing 2 years of football. So um it's just, I think it's what my parents were, um it's kind of funny because I'm listening to a lot of the stuff that's going on, and I was sitting back here saying, man, I must have had good kids. She was like, ignore him. But my parents, right? I mean, it was like, I didn't hear, they weren't, I don't want to say they were, I don't know how to say it. They weren't strict, but they were there. They were obedient. They taught us the right stuff, and I think,
And
my brother's just,
the one
huh?
one thing I was gonna tell Justin was you want your son to be more upset that he disappointed you, vice fear you because because you're an imposing guy. That was the difference. My sons were more afraid of disappointing me than getting me upset because I really didn't get upset at them much.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't either. So I
I
kind of
just
just,
want to say something. As far as Justin's question, the one thing I've learned, and I have three children, I was a single mom. Um, you have to listen to them. Growing
yeah,
up, we were always taught children need to be seen and not heard. That, in my opinion,
yeah,
is absolutely wrong. They
right.
deserve to voice their opinion, and it may seem disrespectful of the way they express themselves, but you have to listen to the message, not the tone all the time. And once you do that, it becomes a little easier to understand where they're coming from. Kids just want to be heard just like anyone else. So if you try to implement that in your parenting, parenting, that might help.
Yeah.
Just especially with your son challenging you, and he will challenge you because I have two boys and a girl, and my daughter challenges me at every turn. And I don't think it's because she doesn't respect me. I just think that she sees that she's female and I'm female, and she feels like I should understand her a little more. But being that she's the youngest, and I was used to raising boys, even with my nephews, I raised my two nephews. It was a little difficult for me to see that she's a little slightly different. And I think you'll find with your son
Yeah.
that it's going to be slightly different from with your daughter because I heard a man quote, when he had his son, he was ready to die for his son, but when he had his daughter, he was ready to kill for her. And I think that maybe,
Yeah.
which how you're feeling. The way you would
So
describe it is different.
well, I was actually telling Pearl this. It's funny. I listen for my children, both of them. I'll burn this world to the ground. I don't think any parent wouldn't. So I would go to scorched earth to make sure my kids were okay. It's just, I guess, I know that one day, I guess, like every man is, it's like you become from the cub to that young male lion, and that testosterone's pumping, that attitude is through the roof, and then it's just like he's gonna have to, I guess, try to assert that dominance. And I'm not worried about that altercation. What I'm worried about is it can I find a way to, I guess, channel that without being that, like I've seen it with kids and dads in sports is like you set a high focus, like you push them, and then all of a sudden they burn out, and then all the work that they put in falls apart. And that's just where I fear is like, because like I didn't get pushed in sports, I just had the love for sport. But like I had opportunities. If I would have been pushed early enough, I got Division II offers, and I was an atrocious football player. I was a better wrestler. Um, and I know that like I loved the game of football. I played semi-pro ball. I did too. Like the violence and all of that. I am, and to this day, like I will be a violent guy. It's just I've learned to like I guess control that, and I don't know how to teach that to my son without being like knuckle up. Like it is what it is. Like I that's how I've always like fight
Well,
So I don't
occur.
have sons, right? So I don't have sons. Like I told you, I had three daughters, but remember I told you I grew up with a brother, right?
Yeah,
So like my parents were military and my brother played football. He did all those things. And I remember like my parents were supportive. Well, I was a cheerleader. So of course they were at all the games that I was cheering for and my brother was. But I'll never forget the one time that my brother tested my dad, right? And my dad had to yoke my brother up, right? He yoked
yeah.
him up to the wall and pretty much put him in his place. And that's the last
Mhm.
time I ever saw my brother buck back to my dad, right?
Yeah,
No violence. He literally just snatched him up and yoked him up and put him in his place, right? That
yeah,
was it. My brother never, and my parents have always been supportive of him and always been. It's almost like children will test you regardless. You have to know that they are going to test you. And it's what you do with that testing is what, how you show it, and it's like you have to be able to yoke them up and still show love at the same time, right? And
yeah,
still show them you're supportive, but let them know, like, don't come at me this way. And that's how my dad did. And my brother never came back again after that. And he was completely, but you just have to know how to step in when. Don't let him run all over you. Like kids will test you. Your daughter's going to test you because she's a daddy's girl. I have three daughters. They test my husband. They try to run up all over both of us. And we don't always stand together. I'll tell you that. We don't always because they'll go to him separate and then they'll come to me. I shut it down. I'm a female. So I don't give a darn what energy you're giving over here because I'm a female and I get it. I know what you're trying to get. But for him, they play on his heartstrings, and then he'll call me, and I'll be like, nope, 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 shut it down. So with him, a son is a little different, and I don't have a son. But it's different in the fact that you should be able to man to man and know how you tested your parents and how they dealt with you and how they built who you are. And so
Yeah.
and so you have to realize sometimes you have to snatch them up and be like, look, I'm the boss. Like, I'm here for you. What is it that you need? But you're not going to test me at the same time. And you have to let them know that. Like, they realize. So my brother backed down quick. When my dad snatched, I'll never forget watching him pinned up against the wall, like, hi. And my dad had snatched his ass up completely and was like, look, I'll never forget it. And that was the last time my brother ever came back at my dad. And after that, they were like best buds after that. I could never figure it out because, of course, I was a girl, but I was like, what just happened? But
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. And so they ended up being, and my dad was in support of him, and he was. So he's gonna test you, and you're gonna have to let him know who the boss is, and then he's gonna come back and you just have to let him know that you support him, even though he has tested you, because kids are kids, and they'll do whatever they can to test their parents. Period.
Yeah.
You're right.
But you have to let them
You're
Thank
know.
definitely
you.
right. But on that note, I'm going to have to take a stop right here because we are way over on the show, but I felt this was such a good and engaging conversation. I just want to let it go. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for participating. As you can see, the screen in my screen share before we end the show, I just want to pay tribute to a woman without whom myself, Pearl, and Apple would not be here. Um, Apple, you go first, then Pearl, then I'll close this out.
I have a great niece with us, so she's a little upset. So I really can't talk, but I want to thank everybody for joining today. This was as always, a very interesting conversation, and I'm glad we got to get some of the issues out and answer some questions that maybe, other parents may have had. And I just want to say good night. And once again, thanks for joining.
Pearl?
I just want to thank Justin for joining me. I asked him earlier today. He's a man with a lot of information. He's a very talkative man, but he don't talk nothing but good knowledge. He's also an aspiring comedian. So hopefully if y'all come to Jacksonville one day, we can come watch one of his shows. If not, y'all got to come on our work day and sit at the smoke section and hear him up. But I appreciate you coming on, Justin. It was
Oh, you're
wonderful
welcome.
hearing
It
you
was a blast. It's a great
discuss this.
conversation.
I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a good time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
always welcome back. Always
Of
welcome back.
course.
And I want to say happy birthday to my mother, 78 years old. We miss her dearly. We love her dearly. And I know she's continuously watching over us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I just, like I said,
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
play this. I'm going to play this. I'm not going to do my thing, but I'm gonna play this, and then I'll close.
When I think of all the things I used to do, how mama used to clean somebody else's house just to buy me a new pair of shoes. I never understood how mama made it through the week when she never ever got a good night's sleep.
I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming on. Justin, don't be a stranger. This is more like a family call. You're gonna be part of the family, and never make love by the garden gate. Though love is blind, the neighbors ain't. Y'all be good.
Peace.
Good night.